Hey, what's up everyone? Today I am reviewing the Vibram Vybrid, and this is a minimalist shoe that they are marketing as sort of a casual shoe, but as a runner I like to test out all their shoes and see how they work for running. I was initially excited about this shoe because something about the Vibrams that I've always wondered is why they don't add a little bit more cushioning and a little bit more protection so that you can use these on like a rocky trail or something like that. If you look at some of their newer shoes, they've added a little bit of cushioning to some of them. This is called the Vibram Bikila Evo, and yes, it has some cushioning, but really not much. I mean, you really couldn't take this on a gnarly trail. They've also tried some trail shoes such as the Vibram Spyridon that has a rock plate, but it really doesn't have any cushioning, and it's not a lot of protection for a gnarly trail. So they, in my opinion, they don't have much for trail running. This is the Trek sole. This is a Trek Sport sandal, and this Trek sole bottom comes on a couple of their shoes that they say can be used for trail running, but it's very thin, and if you're on a really rocky trail, it's not going to do much. And so I thought, you know, maybe this Vybrid could be used for a rocky trail. I mean, it has something like 9 or 10 millimeters of cushioning, and it's got these plastic supports and things like that that could protect from rocks. And so I bought this. It was around $150, hoping that maybe this could be used as a trail shoe, or maybe just a shoe that I could wear on an easy run when I don't want to have to worry about stepping on rocks and things like that, and I don't want to have to think about where my foot is going to be placed. So I bought this shoe, and I was severely disappointed. First of all, there's some major design flaws that I find in this shoe, and part of the great thing about Vibram is their form. It has this nice wide toe box that allows your feet to be positioned in a way that's completely natural, as if you were barefoot. And most running shoes actually squeeze in at the toe box and kind of cause your toes to scrunch together, which for me feels very unnatural and not comfortable at all. And that's one of the things that I like about Vibram is their form, is it allows a wide toe box, but it still feels very secure and snug to your foot. And that's part of the design problem that's challenging on traditional running shoes, is if you go with a wider toe box, it can start to feel a little bit sloppy. And Vibram has overcome this with the articulating toes. And but the problem here is that there's an extreme amount of toe spring in this shoe, which totally messes up the natural feel of a shoe. They went with sort of a Trek sole. This is a Trek sandal, and they went with a similar sole as that. But if you look at this Trek Sport sandal, it really doesn't have much toe spring. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty flat, and so your feet can kind of help stabilize and support. There's just some protection but no correction. But as you move to the Vybrid, what happens here is your toes are kind of elevated off the ground like this, as you can see here. And so when you have it, I'm gonna get it, you can see there's an extreme amount of toe splay, like almost feels like your toes are just hanging off a ledge or something. And so as you're running, it feels like you're kind of running downhill and you're landing right here. What they should have done is extended this cushioning all the way into the toes, and then that would allow your toes to be level on the ground with the rest of your foot, as it naturally is when you're barefoot. So your toes end up hanging off this sort of ledge type thing that it creates with this extreme toe spring. And by toe spring, I mean your toes are almost up in the air. And what that does, it actually creates an unstable base. And you can see how dramatic this is. So when you're landing, it's almost feels like you're landing like this, and you're landing way up on your toes. And the problem with toe spring, a little bit is okay. I've got this Bikila Evo here, and they put a little bit of toe spring in that. It makes you feel a little bit faster. It makes the rock from forefoot then to spring off a little bit faster. But if you get too extreme, it can actually start to feel unstable. And so just even as a casual shoe, as you're standing around, you kind of feel like you're on an unstable base, and because your toes are hanging off, and it almost creates this rocker-like feel, and it kind of feels like you're rocking like that. The arch support is ridiculous, I think, because arch support is only needed if you have a regular shoe which is cramming your toes together, and what happens is that causes you, let me see if I can show you here. If you have your toes up on with toe spring, it causes your feet to kind of curve inwards, and so then they overcome that by putting in arch support. And I guess that was the idea here, is they made an unstable base by elevating the toes with all this toe spring. They could have extended this gray cushioning into the toes, but they chose not to. And to compensate, they had to put in an arch support to help stabilize the shoe, when what they really should have done is created a stable base throughout. Then your big toe can help stabilize that arch as it naturally would. You have, with it like a bridge, you have two supports, one on either end. And because on this end here, near the big toe, they created an unstable base, then they had to add arch support, which really creates a stiff midsole, or a stiff arch here. And then the toes are extremely flexible, and really it just feels very strange when you're running. So $150, I had to try it out because I thought, you know, maybe this could be used for something on a gnarly trail. But it was very uncomfortable. I don't recommend it at all. And actually the big toe pocket was very uncomfortable. They made the material extremely tight. I've never had a problem with that in any of my other Vibram Fivefingers. But this was very secure and tight, extremely tight on my big toe, and so that wasn't very fun. I didn't really feel the arch support. I did a little bit, but not too much. And it's just, you know, if you're a minimalist type runner, if you like the minimalist experience, I wouldn't recommend this shoe. It feels unstable with that toe spring, and it's not something I would recommend. So this review has gone on a little too long, and I think I'm going to end it here. But perhaps if you have some deformity where you need some toe spring and some arch support, maybe it could work. But other than that, it's definitely not a minimalist experience like you would find in their other shoes. And I hope this helps you decide. Thanks.